What is good, YouTube? Have you ever thought to yourself, oh man, I wonder if I should play the first Castlevania, but it's so old and I don't know if it's still worth playing? Well, my friend, you are in luck because you will find your answer right here, right now in this video. We are reviewing the very first Castlevania. Way too late. Welcome to the Backlog project, where we play through a gigantic backlog of games and you get to choose which one will be covered next. Just head down to the description of the video to take part in our weekly poll and pick your favorite. While we are playing Castlevania 1, this review will be based on the most accessible and modern version of the game, namely the Castlevania Anniversary Collection. The Konami Classic was first released in 1986 for the NES, with the collection launching in 2019 and making the games playable on current systems with a few little quality of life tweaks like save states, screen filters, and widescreen support. You are Simon Belmont, the heir to a line of distinguished vampire hunters. Not really a job you'd expect to get a lot of work, but the game would be rather boring without any vampires, right? Enter Count Dracula. Not that one. Not that one either. Holy shit, there are a lot of Draculas. Konami could have really picked a more creative antagonist, or maybe the game works because it's so simple. Anyways, your goal is to infiltrate Dracula's castle, defeat his minions, and as the old Transylvanian saying goes, whoop Dracula's ass back into his coffin. In typical NES fashion, this is as far as the story goes, and it never really gets any deeper than that. In fact, there isn't even any dialogue in the game. Technically, this game has less story than Super Mario Bros, but it serves as a decent backdrop for a bloody adventure in a dark castle, so I'm good. When I first booted up the game, I was genuinely surprised by how good this actually looks. Granted, it's still an NES game, but they somehow managed to create atmospheric levels on a system where games are constantly plagued by repeating the same backdrops over and over, if it even has more than a black background at all. You start off by walking towards the castle with a dark, spooky forest in the background telling you that this is not a journey you are likely to return from. Entering the castle, you can see the remnants of what used to be an architectural masterpiece but has long since been in disrepair, with cracks in the walls, ripped curtains, and missing floor tiles. Your journey will bring you through ramparts, catacombs, the castle wall, and even the castle's clock tower on your way to Dracula's chamber, each of them looking distinct, memorable, and dangerous. Alongside the visuals, Castlevania drowns you in a suit of motivating and heroic, but at the same time spooky music, and every time you think you've gotten to the stage with the best soundtrack, the next one blows you away all over again. This is what 8-bit music should sound like: snappy, easy to remember, fun to listen to, and always giving you the drive to complete your harrowing quest. Enjoying the video so far? That like button to let YouTube know this video is worth showing to more people. Thanks. Castlevania may be a jump and run, but don't let that term fool you into thinking you've got a simple game on your hands here. Well, at least for NES games, there's a lot to this one. Your general movement consists of running and jumping. Castlevania may be a jump and run, but don't let that term fool you. But wait! You can also attack with Simon's signature weapon, a steel whip, because jumping on enemies doesn't work in Castlevania. Well, except for if you want to die, then please go ahead. The whip is very simple to use. You can't control the direction it will extend in, apart from if you're facing left or right or kneeling to get a low hit in, so all you really have to do is use it, and most enemies will be dead in 1 or 2 hits. Your adventure will take you to 6 themed levels like the aforementioned catacombs, each with 3 stages for a total of 18 playable screens. I say screens because these stages are really short most of the time. In fact, you can easily play through the whole game in under an hour. If you survive, that is. As is the case with many older games, Castlevania enjoys killing the player by letting him walk into unpredictable enemy spawns or requiring almost perfect jumping to clear some levels. This means that a lot of your time will be spent learning stage layouts, how to deal with enemy groups, and just plain trial and error. One thing I really liked about Castlevania is that enemies do not respawn when you re-enter their spawn point like many retro games are prone to do. This is a double-edged sword, however. On one hand, it gives the game a sense of realism and progress, very unlike most NES games. However, it also allows the player to turtle through the game to the point of luring out one enemy after each other as to never really run the risk of dying, making most levels a lot easier than they probably were meant to be. There is a timer for each level, but even when I took my time, I never even got close to time running out, so that's a non-issue, or issue, however you want to see it. Obviously, a game with such a focus on killing monsters wouldn't be the same without some epic boss fights. Each level has you face off against the boss at the end, each of them completely different in not only appearance, but moveset. While the first boss is simply a giant ass bat trying to get a good bite out of you, later bosses require you to not only dodge them, but various projectiles as well, predict where they will pop up after invisibility, or other nasty little tricks that can easily overwhelm any unprepared vampire hunters, if it wasn't for weapons. Apart from items like hearts or bonus points, you can find different weapons to carry in addition to your whip. These include the dagger, axe, holy water, cross, and stopwatch, each with different properties like damage and cost. Whereas daggers are thrown in a straight line, axes are useful for hitting flying enemies due to them being thrown in an arc. Holy water can be thrown in front of you to create a fire that deals continuous damage to enemies, and the cross is a boomerang in anything but name. I mentioned cost, right? To not make these too powerful, each use of an item costs hearts. Weird how that isn't your health, huh? Stronger weapons require more hearts, so you can't spam them to easily win a fight. Except you can spam them to easily win a fight, since you get tons of hearts in every stage. By the time you get to a boss, you usually have more than enough hearts to just spam your weapons until it dies, without much or even any retaliation. The worst offender here is the holy water. With the way this game works, enemies cannot move when they are being hit by something, so by just always throwing a holy water before the old one wears off, while whipping the enemy to death in between, will make every boss a cakewalk.
Holy Jesus. What is that? What the fuck is that?
Even though the first Castlevania hasn't aged very well, the foundations of a fun game are still there. With some sick music, surprisingly good graphics, and challenging gameplay, this old 2D platformer still has some fight in it. Just don't expect it to be very fair to you. It's still a retro game, although you don't really have to be fair either. If you've got an hour to spare, you could definitely do worse than spend your time on playing through the first part of Castlevania's long and exciting history. Did you play this game back in 1986? Chances are you weren't even born back then, and neither was I, so how did you even end up on this video? Did it make you want to play the game? Tell me in the comments. If you want to support me in continuing to make these videos, you can do so by using YouTube's Super Thanks to have a cool highlighted comment, or become a channel member for just 99 cents and unlock some cool perks across the channel, like custom emoji and double votes on the polls. Any money I make from these videos goes directly back into the channel, or into my cat's stomach as snacks. Thank you very much for watching, and remember to always keep that backlog rolling.